Welcome back to Git Good, a series where I analyze my gameplay to see what I did right, what I did wrong, and how I could have played better. Over the past few months, I've been working heavily on my cover usage, making sure that I don't take fights in the open and isolating targets as much as possible. Good cover usage can make up for a lot of deficiencies in your gameplay because you end up in fewer fights whose outcomes are determined solely by aim. If they can't hit you, they can't kill you, which means you get more chances at making a comeback if things go poorly. Now that I've actively worked on it for a while, my gameplay looks completely different from how it used to, and I wanted to share some of what I've learned along the way. The analysis in this video will be heavily focused on why the cover I'm using is good, if I'm using it properly, or how I could have positioned better if I'm not. Additionally, each clip will have a theme of cover control that I want to highlight, so we're not just analyzing the same thing over and over again. The clips themselves are fairly short, so I'll play them through and then go back and break them down. As always, if you want to jump around, the timestamps are in the description. Let's dive right into it. This clip showcases some decent target isolation. Rarely do I put myself in a position where I can be shot at by more than one person at a time.
Picked up some materials. Getting shot at. Need to recharge my shields.
Hostile over there.
I am taking fire, friends.
Got some materials.
Sending care package.
Looks like a care package is coming in. Big take.
Giving my shields a recharge. The enemies are shooting at me.
Recharging my shields.
I am taking fire, friends. Reloading. Recharging shields.
Getting shot at. Reloading. I've been down.
Listen up, I'm getting fast with that shield. Just giving my shields a recharge. Reloading. Another enemy down.
Using my Phoenix kit.
The game starts off with me figuring out if the enemy team is playing on the same side as us. Notice how when I'm checking angles that I expect people to appear from, I use cover to isolate myself from other positions I'm not watching. That way, I avoid unexpectedly taking damage from one direction while looking at another. When I check the roof, I'm only exposed to the right side of this box. When I check the stairs, no one on the roof can see me.
Picked up some materials.
When I check the low ground again, I could be shot by someone holding this box, but it's close enough to the center of my vision that I'm not going to be caught off guard if someone pops up there. Once I feel like no one's on the ship, I start scanning the other end of the map, trying to only open myself up to angles that I'm actively checking or that I'm sure are safe. If I'm not looking at that area to shoot back, I don't want to be exposed to it. When I spot the enemy team, I don't bother poking since I won't do any meaningful damage at this range with an SMG. Instead, I keep an eye on the off angle and flanks to make sure they don't try anything cheeky. My awareness pays off and I'm able to pressure off a bloodhound trying to push up our right side. As I'm firing, I position myself so I'm isolated from other angles. Lifeline and Octane can't see me since they're playing from the middle high ground. I don't tunnel vision on him though, and continue checking my surroundings every so often. As I open myself up to other angles, I close myself off to the bloodhound. I spot someone going for the care package, so I position myself so I'm as isolated as possible. The only enemy I want on my screen right now is whoever's at the care package. Given what we've seen so far, the only extra angle I'm exposed to is this area here, which is well within my vision and wouldn't be difficult for me to react to and take cover from. Same thing with the lifeline on the low ground. Octane's by the statue and Bloodhound is still on my right, so when I rotate to get an angle, I position myself so that the other two can't see me and shoot me for free while I'm focused on her. Wraith's in trouble, so I rotate to help, moving from cover to cover.
Reloading.
I could have done a better job utilizing cover in this next sequence of events. I'm sliding because I want to get here quickly, but in doing so, I completely blow past this wall, putting myself in the open. Then I don't take 2 steps to the right to correct for it, even though I had time to do so. This is a classic case of me standing near cover, but not behind it. I could have put half my body behind this wall while dueling the Octane. I want to keep my peaks tight, so I avoid making myself a bigger target than necessary. The fewer free advantages I give my opponents, the more fights I'll win. Additionally, standing closer to this wall will keep me safe from Bloodhound, who was just shooting at me from the right. If the Bloodhound rotates, they'll have an open lane to me while I'm focused on Octane. I also have this lip, which obscures a good part of my body from anyone downhill when I'm crouched, but I stand up so I don't make full use of it. Lifeline pops up, and because I'm near cover, I can instantly break line of sight, reducing the amount of damage I take while I reload and heal. I'm trying to get into the habit of breaking line of sight when I'm caught off guard instead of challenging immediately. They're already damaging me, so by the time I react and line up my shot, I'll be at a massive health disadvantage. By going into cover, I equalize the playing field a little bit by introducing uncertainty and forcing their decision making to become a factor. They have to assess if they think I'm going to re-peek, and if so, what angle, or if I'm going to stay hidden and if they should push me and how they should do it. I'm not banking on them making a bad decision, but I am creating an opportunity for it to happen. If you don't give them a chance to make a mistake, then they can never make one. Pathfinder goes the challenge, so I cancel my battery and help, covering the angle that he can't so that Lifeline's caught in a crossfire and has nowhere to run. I don't want to run in directly behind him because we would block each other's shots, and if Lifeline breaks line of sight from Pathfinder, she'd likely break line of sight from me too.
Reloading. Another enemy down.
Using my Phoenix gift.
The final duel with the Bloodhound is another example of me standing near cover instead of behind it. Tightening up my cover usage and minimizing my hitbox in these fights can be the difference between me securing the kill and me going down and having to spam ping where the last guy is. This next clip is a good example of the forced decision making I mentioned earlier. I'm caught dueling a Wraith who's near full health while I'm sitting around 70 HP. I've already knocked one person and my teammates are fighting another, so I know this is a 1v1. As I'm moving up, I can hear someone behind me, so I get into cover, turn around, and get ready to fight. Since there's so much open space across from one piece of cover to the next, disengaging isn't an option because of my low health. I don't want to risk getting picked off while running away. I do a couple peeks, spot the Wraith in the open, and get some damage in. By the time she reacts and gets out of the sprint animation, I'm already back behind cover. I just caught her off guard and did 52 damage for free. Because of my health disadvantage, I don't want to sit there and trade even though I had the element of surprise. Assuming she was at full HP, I'd have to do 175 damage by the time she does 70, which means I have to deal damage more than 2.5 times as fast as she does if I want to win a straight up duel. Now that she's aware of where I am, I break line of sight to create uncertainty and force her decision making to come into play. If she runs away, I get a chance to reset and take another fight where I'm hopefully at less of a disadvantage. I'd consider that a win since on paper, things are looking pretty bad for me right now. If she stays and fights, there's a 50% chance that she's looking at the wrong side of the pillar every time I re-peek, so now her aim is a much bigger factor. Then, she needs to figure out how to time her reloads so she isn't reloading when I'm peeking, as well as figure out a plan for how to push me. If I didn't go back into cover, she wouldn't have to consider any of these things. It turns out she wants to stay and fight. Okay. My goal here is to pre-aim at where I think she is, quickly peek and fire a few shots, then get back into cover to repeat the cycle. First re-peek, she's looking at the right spot, but her aim isn't on point. Second re-peek, she seems to be looking at the wrong corner. Third re-peek, it looks like she's aiming at the wrong corner again. By the time she corrects, I'm already back behind cover. Fourth re-peek, she decides to attack my position by sprinting at me. More free damage. Fifth re-peek, someone has to reload. By using cover to force my opponent's decision making to become a factor, I gave myself the opportunity to win a fight through their mistakes that I otherwise might have lost. This clip has a box fight that I want to highlight towards the end. My cover usage also isn't as clean as the other clips thus far, so there will be some mistakes to point out as well.
Recharging my shields.
They spotted me. I'm taking shots. Reloading.
Hostile right here.
Contact. Care package coming
Yep.
in. Getting shot at.
Hostile close.
Reloading. Void running.
Reload.
Recharge.
Health drone if you need it. Just giving my shields a recharge. Reload. Enemy down.
I'm taking shots. Down.
Reload. More enemies down. I'm spotted. Taking fire. Just giving my shields a recharge. I'm getting shot at. Just giving my shields a recharge. I'm spotted. Taking fire.
The round started off a bit rough. Our Mirage was caught out of position and goes down quickly. I myself overpeaked and took a lot of damage trying to force a trade. I get a battery off so I have enough health to tank a couple hits while disengaging, taking the long and safe path back to my Wraith. I don't want to take a duel and lose, especially since I'm at a 60 HP disadvantage. I'd rather pair up with who's left and try to focus fire targets to even up the numbers, or at least have a better shot of trading damage instead of feeding by going in one by one. It feels like I might be able to get a free revive, so I go for it. I tunnel visioned and didn't see the Pathfinder here. Firing into the Octane was a bad judgment call. I saw an opportunity to do free damage since he wasn't looking in my direction, but look at my positioning. I'm standing in the open, miles away from cover when I don't have a clue where the enemy team is. Pathfinder and Rampart could pop up from anywhere and suddenly my damage becomes a lot less free. Even if this Octane was by himself, this is still a bad engagement since he can back up into a head glitch while I have no cover at all. He can break line of sight and disengage while I can't, so I'm fighting on his terms. Hitting my shots becomes a lot more important in that case, and we all know how terrible my aim is. Climbing up was another bad decision by me. There's no cover, so I could have gotten knocked during the climbing animation. I can't even assume it's safe because Wraith is already up here and is currently taking damage. If I really wanted to contest this area, I should have used the stairs instead. I have a head glitch there and can clear angles one at a time.
Reloading. Void running.
Wraith backs out and so do I. I need to put distance between me and them while I still have a chance to, so I can reset. Otherwise, they'll just walk over, look down the wall, and breathe on me to knock me. I have to make a quick judgment call on how far away I think I could get before they have line of sight on me again. I don't want to be in the open too long running to cover that's safer but further away and die before I get there. I settle for the stairs, which isn't as safe as this wall, but I don't want to risk getting hit while crossing this gap. By resetting instead of trying to force a bad fight, we get the opening we need to turn this around. Octane overextended trying to hunt us, and I get a knock, so now it's a 2v2. Wraith goes in, and I move up to support her, but I path poorly to get there. I should have taken the same route she took. My left side would have been safe, since the zone's there, and my right side would have been blocked by the pillar, so I only have to worry about what's in front of me. Instead, I dive right into the middle of this intersection, putting myself in the open without knowing where the Pathfinder is. I got lucky that Rampart was trying to thirst instead of paying attention, that she was one hit, and that Pathfinder wasn't set up to cover for her. I realize my mistake, and eventually take the safer path to hit the revive.
I'm spotted. Taking fire. Just giving my shield a recharge.
Pathfinder grapples into me, probably to sneak in a res before the zone closes, so I have to take this duel. It's time to play Ring Around the Rosie as we chase each other around the pillar. I approached this fight the same way I would a box fight, since this pillar is basically a giant box, except you can't climb on it. I always want to be positioned at a corner when possible because that gives me the ability to break line of sight regardless of which side I'm attacked from. Being at the middle of one of the sides puts me the furthest distance possible from cover. With that in mind, I move parallel to the edge I'm on while clearing, and I don't cross the corner until I'm certain it's safe. That way, I always have the option to back out if I need to. If I blindly cross the corners, I might end up fully committed in a close range fight when I don't want to be. I don't hear Pathfinder running anymore, so as I approach this corner, I pre-aim as I strafe around so I can shoot as soon as I see him. If I need to, I can move right to break line of sight, which will give me enough time to fall back one more corner so he's not on top of me. As I'm healing, I should be holding a corner so I don't get caught off guard if he attacks me. It makes me a bit more vulnerable, but that's better than being caught completely by surprise, which could have happened here if he approached me from behind. Zone's closing and I can hear him running, so I move up too, trying to path from cover to cover. This slide was terrible. I'm sliding away from cover into an angle that Pathfinder could have been pre-aiming. At least I break line of sight and re-challenge from a different angle to make him reacquire me again. The closing zone forces me to dive into him, which is unfortunate, but it happens. What I don't like is that I went towards the middle of the room, putting myself as far away as possible from any escape path. Ideally, I would have gone towards the opposing doors, so if things go poorly, I might be able to get out. I get lucky that he gives up the doors. I spot him rotating and I jump on the window. If I had stayed here to shoot him, that would have been a decent move, since I now have cover control again. Unfortunately, I dropped a chase, fully committing to a close range fight. I think I saw red numbers and automatically thought he was low, but I didn't actually do that much health damage to him earlier. Still, I clutch it up. I played the cover here much better than I would have 3 months ago, but there's still a lot I could have done better. The next two clips go hand in hand. They showcase similar situations, but in one, I utilize cover well, so I'm under no pressure even though there's a lot happening, and in the other, I give up cover and the game becomes hectic.
I am taking fire, friends.
Enemy spotted.
Recharging shields.
Hit an enemy. Didn't even have to take off my vest.
Just giving my shields a recharge. Axta out.
My shields are recharged. I am taking fire, friends.
You hear that? There's a care package coming.
Grenade, watch out.
Over here. More enemies down.
At the start of the round, I noticed Rampart was hanging out in our spawn, so I went to position safely since we're down a person. If I play at these stairs, there's plenty of cover I can use, I have options for escaping, and I can keep an eye on our flanks. If someone attacks from the hill, the supply bin, or the bridge, I can quickly reposition to isolate myself so I'm not fighting multiple angles at once.
Some materials here. Enemy over there. Getting shot at.
I spot someone coming from the bridge, and I immediately back into the head glitch, since no one is covering that angle.
Recharging my shield.
It's late, but I pinged to let Pathfinder know that we're getting flanked, so hopefully he realizes that he's on his own now. I can no longer cover him without being exposed to the flanker. Here we can see the power of the head glitch. Revenant's entire hitbox is exposed to me, meaning I have all of this surface area to land shots on. From Rev's perspective, only my head and maybe the upper part of my torso can be seen, so this is roughly the size of the target he's looking at, assuming he has a 2x scope like I do. All else equal, it's harder to hit a smaller target than it is a bigger one, so I have a massive advantage here. Since I knew this flank was coming, I could have optimized my positioning by being perpendicular to the ground. That way, only the top part of my head would have been exposed, making me a harder target to see, let alone hit. There's a lot of excessive movement here. I should have positioned as close to perfect as possible for the head glitch and used my crouch to pop in and out of cover instead of strafing for no reason, dodging shots that aren't aimed at me. There's a lot happening on my screen right now, but because I'm positioned well behind cover, I don't feel pressured because I'm not in any danger. The less pressure I'm under, the less likely I'm going to panic react and make a bad decision. When Octane pushes up, I pop in and out of cover and get favorable damage trades. Whenever I feel like he's got his crosshairs on me, I break line of sight and force him to reacquire me again. I'm in complete control of this fight because I get to engage when I want to, whereas he can only react to whatever I do. This clip starts off exactly the same as the last one, but we'll get to see how much additional pressure I'm under from being caught out of cover. There are 4 distinct instances where I could have lost just a round from being out of position.
Recharging my shields.
I am taking fire, friends. Grappling. Recharging shields.
I'm still taking fire. Just giving my shields a recharge.
Here I go. I am down.
Reload. Listen up, I'm getting shot.
Enemy taken down.
Recharging my shields. Reload. Deploying it.
Some fuckers shooting at me.
Enemy down. Reloading. Taking fire. Just giving my shields a recharge.
Reloading.
Contact with target.
I'm set up at the stairs, Rampart is sniping from spawn, and someone pushes from the bridge.
Reloading.
I notice Pathfinder going in, so I move one piece of cover closer to provide help if he needs it.
Grappling.
Right now, I'm set up at a decent spot. I can defend against the stairs, the bridge, and the middle. I have this box I can use for cover and can change up my positioning to isolate targets. I should have stayed here and waited for Pathfinder to reset. Instead, I leave this good position and expose myself to every angle possible by standing in the middle of nowhere just to check if someone's running across the bridge, ignoring everywhere else. Even if someone was there, Pathfinder's using a shield battery so he can't help focus fire the target, and he'll be too late to follow up on damage I do. I'm putting myself at a lot of risk for very little reward. As I'm standing there looking like an idiot, I can hear someone running up the stairs and I realize how out of position I am. I'm exposed to 2 people, one at the stairs and one across on the other side. I run away immediately, taking a ton of damage, but at least I get out. It's not ideal, but staying alive means I get a chance to reset and try again. The way I fight this Octane is what I should have been doing from the very start. Use this box to isolate targets and avoid wide peeking. Lifeline shows up out of nowhere to thirst Pathfinder. Trying to trade damage with her instead of disengaging right away was a mistake. Pathfinder's gonna die at this point and there's nothing I can do to stop that. I should have gotten a head start on getting away while she's distracted. I don't know where the Revenant is, but when teams push like this, they usually go together, so I could be looking at a 1v2 very soon where everyone's on top of me and it's a far run to the next closest piece of cover. Even if Rev doesn't show up, Octane's going to be coming back soon after using a battery. If I stay and fight, I have 5 seconds to beat Lifeline and reload my guns and hope that I have enough health that Octane can't just sneeze at me to knock me. Turns out Octane never left. What a madman. Running away now has an even lower chance of succeeding, but it's still better than staying to fight a 1v2 with no cover. I make sure to disengage towards my Rampart. Even though she's not positioned to do much, she's still shooting, which is better than nothing, so I'll take it. I want to do everything I can to increase my chances of survival, even if it's only by a fraction of a percent. Octane gets knocked, and that buys me a lot of time. I thirst the Octane because I don't want Lifeline to res, and I spot Revenant going on a wild flank. A game that looked like a guaranteed loss suddenly becomes a very winnable one.
Enemy down.
My positioning as I thirst Revenant isn't good because my back is exposed. I moved up the stairs to get a better angle, assuming Lifeline was near Rev, but I don't actually know that for sure. Because I didn't continuously scan my surroundings, I could have been shot in the back as I was thirsting. At this point, I'm wondering where Lifeline is, so I start looking around, but I leave my cover as I do so. I'll be honest, I didn't have a plan for where I wanted to go. I wasn't thinking about pathing from cover to cover, I just held down W hoping to find the last person. And find her I did, sort of. She camouflaged into the background, and by the time I saw her, I took 100 damage for free. I left cover for no reason, with no purpose, without considering the sightlines I'm exposed to, and I got punished again. I break line of sight right away, moving towards my rampart, which is good, but I could have picked a better place to go. I'm too close to the lifeline to pop a battery, as she can be here in less than 5 seconds. I turned the corner to buy myself a little more time, but if lifeline pushes me, I'll have to fight without cover. While I am in position for rampart to help, I don't want my success to be dependent on someone else's performance, especially when I had other options. I could have jumped the railing, ran towards the crafting mats, and popped a battery there instead, putting a little distance between me and lifeline. From there, I can see if she decides to chase, in which case, I can keep running to kite her around or box fight, depending on how far along my battery is. Either way, I'll be behind cover and not stuck at a dead end, unlike how I am currently. She gets here right as my battery finishes and wipes out my shields again by the time my weapon is drawn and my first shot goes off. If she had better aim, I 100% would have died here and would have needed my rampart to clutch it up. Luckily, my tracking was good for once, but I forced myself into a position where I might have had to depend on my teammates for help when I didn't need to. Good cover usage makes the game a lot easier not just for you, but your team as well. It takes pressure off of you, allowing you to focus on what's important, and gives you more chances at making a comeback. It also takes pressure off your team because they won't be forced to clutch because of your mistakes. Anyway, that about wraps it up for this video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time.